Hello, my name is Frank Kelman. You're watching this video probably because your child or a loved one is in a cancer fight. Our family's been fighting pediatric cancer for 23 years, and for a few of those years, we've been fighting adult cancer too. Our daughter, at the beginning of her cancer fight, was given a 0 chance of survival. This talk is about how we overcame those odds and all the vital information we learned from other parents with children who have cancer, the doctors, and our own research. I am confident that you will learn at least one thing that will be beneficial to you or someone you love in their cancer fight. I hope you're doing well today. I run a pediatric cancer research foundation called End Kids Cancer. And most importantly, I am a dad. 23 years ago, our 12-year-old daughter was diagnosed with a very dangerous form of pediatric cancer called neuroblastoma. The doctors operated and removed the cancer. 7 months later, the cancer came back, and that's when the doctors told us she wasn't going to make it. My wife and I didn't buy it. We both assumed our areas of responsibility, and I started reading the medical literature, attending medical conferences, visiting the top medical centers throughout the country that were focused on our daughter's cancer. We found the wonderful doctors who saved her. The lessons and process we learned is what I want to share with you in our 9-part video series. This information will work for other pediatric cancers and adult cancers. We learn by taking an active role in your treatment, you have the ability to significantly impact the course of your battle against cancer for good. Research supports this. I learned that many children and adults succumb to their disease needlessly because their doctors and caregivers are unaware of the advanced and most effective treatments. In addition, many families do not know how to overcome the emotional and financial challenges that may prevent them from getting the most effective treatment for their child. When it comes to kids, I want to emphasize this, fighting cancer, there are a lot of resources out there, such as free housing, free flights, and more. I'll cover that in video 8. As a result, we wrote a cancer guide that helps families overcome these issues. My talk is based on our cancer guide called Steps to Hope. Steps to Hope has been received favorably by its reviewers. For example, highly respected medical professionals, Dr. Philip Landrigan, considered the world's leading expert on the effects of toxic chemicals on children, Dr. Siddhartha Mukherjee, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author and cancer researcher, and the president of the American Academy of Pediatrics, Dr. Fernando Stein. Dr. Stein stated, after reading the guide, it belongs in every pediatrician's office. The most important review came from a mom who said, I couldn't appreciate the value of this information until I had been in the fight for a while. As in so many things in life, you don't know what you need to know at the beginning. Our daughter's cancer journey began 23 years ago. She has had 7 relapses, 5 major surgeries, and at least 150 weeks of chemotherapy. Dozens of weeks of radiation treatment. Over a year ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, followed by 2 more major surgeries and more chemotherapy. It appears her breast cancer was a result of the radiation she received in the chest while fighting her childhood cancer. According to a recent Harvard study, it looks like proton beam radiation could have been a better approach. She is 34, married and living with her husband on the Central Coast of California. While her battle has been brutal, she is one of the lucky ones. When our daughter started her journey, she had made friends with 8 other kids that had the same disease. While our daughter was relapsing, her friends were succumbing to their disease. This is why we started our foundation. I want to share with you a few statistics and thoughts. I believe hope without action is meaningless. I learned which doctors and which medical centers you go to will make a huge difference in your battle with cancer. No 2 doctors and hospitals are the same. We made some of the most important decisions up front when we knew the least. According to the Journal of Patient Safety, in 2016, 400,000 people died of medical errors. 1/3 of cancers are misdiagnosed, according to New York Times. When it comes to kids, the University of Rochester Calisano Children's Hospital found that 52% of pediatric cancers were misdiagnosed at their centers. When you do not take an active role in finding the most effective treatments, you are leaving the outcome to chance. The word hope gets thrown around a lot when it comes to cancer. I didn't know what that really meant until I lost it. When our daughter relapsed for the first time, she was going through huge levels of chemos to kill her cancer, and the chemo wasn't working. She was in the hospital at this time. Her pediatric oncologist walked into our room, or her room, and told me while she was standing only a few feet from my daughter's bed, "Your daughter is not going to make it." Then she just walked out. Callie reached out to me with both arms and said, "Daddy, am I going to die?" I can't tell you how close I came to falling to my knees. I said, "No, sweetheart, you're going to be fine. I'll be right back." I walked out to the nurse's station and asked the nurse to call the social worker or anyone that could help us because my daughter and I are coming apart. The social worker came up and calmed us both down. Callie fell asleep. I had to get out of the room for at least a few minutes. We'd been there for almost 3 weeks. So I walked up to the roof of the parking garage of the hospital and was walking towards my car, and I started living my life in 5-minute increments. I was putting one foot in front of the other. I kept saying to myself, I know she's going to be fine for the next 5 minutes. I know she's going to be fine for the next 5 minutes. The sun was shining, and it felt so good. Then it came to me, what are the other centers doing on the East Coast, or in Texas, or in Chicago, or San Francisco, or in Europe? All of a sudden I started feeling hope. I went back to my daughter's room and started researching to see what the other centers were offering by looking at their websites. While I realized this was not a complete evaluation, at least for now, it was giving us hope. The pain and anxiety started to dissipate. When we got home, I started reading the medical literature, attending medical conferences, visiting the top centers throughout the country that were focused on our daughter's cancer. Ultimately, I want to share with you shortcuts that I learned that will help you identify those centers that will confirm your child's diagnosis and confirm your child is getting the most appropriate treatment. And if needed, to show you ways to overcome the emotional and financial challenges that may prevent you from getting the most effective treatment for your child. I want to emphasize this. When it comes to kids, there are a lot of resources out there for free travel, free housing, and more. Here's something else. I was terrified with the idea of having to travel with a sick child across the country. You may not need to do it. After the first or second time, it's no big deal. Yet, it could be critical. We broke down the following chapters into 8 videos or steps, These are: 1, adjust your attitude from passive to proactive. 2, find the best medical centers for your child. 3, confirm the diagnosis and that your child is getting the most appropriate and effective treatment. 4, build your teams. 5, identify and organize your information sources. 6, make a backup plan. 7, know your insurance. 8, know your financial resources. This is an important point that I want to make. It's probably the most important thing I want to share with you. Trust but verify. Regardless how prominent the doctor or the hospital is, they make mistakes too. I also want to emphasize that even what I am telling you, trust but verify and confirm. When you are making an important decision based on information you gained, confirm it. However, there will be many situations where you are making decisions on imperfect information because not all the information is available. There are so many unanswered questions in the cancer field. If we had listened, this is very important, if we had listened, I want to emphasize, to our daughter's doctors at the beginning and stopped searching for alternatives, I don't think our daughter would be here with us today. One last story. I met these two moms at a Ronald McDonald House several years ago. Both their children had the same disease as our daughter. The one mom said they live in the center part of the country and that their doctors assured her and her husband that they were quite capable of dealing with their child's disease. After some time, her child was not getting any better, so she reached out to other centers that were focused on her child's disease and found out that they were giving her son the wrong chemo. They switched to another center. The other mom said, "My story is the exact same. We're also from a small town in the center of the country, except we paid a much higher price. We lost our son." They were winging it. The next video that we'll cover, adjust your attitude from passive to proactive, should be out shortly. If this video was of any value to you and you are interested in watching the following videos, then please hit the like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who may benefit from it. I wish you and your family the very best.